Oh my gosh! Well, we got a $75 ticket.
Wow.
Well, Tesla. This is something we hadn't thought of before. We're going to have to put this into a new line item in our model for Tesla. Tickets.
She is laughing. Her price target on this stock is $2,600. 3 weeks before she got in that car, Tesla's Bay Area test fleet had already collapsed from 355 vehicles down to 9. The same company, two completely different signals about whether the software is ready. Today, we go through both. Here's what the coverage looks like if you search Tesla Robotaxi this week. 42 cars, 3 cities. Waymo has 3,000. That is the story. You have probably already read it. In June 2025, Tesla launched its Robotaxi service in Austin. First rides had a safety monitor in the passenger seat. By January 22, 2026, the monitor was gone. One vehicle operating driverless. By April 18, 2026, Dallas and Houston were live. Still roughly 42 vehicles total across all 3 cities. Texas DMV filings put the count at about 30 in Austin, 6 in Dallas, 6 in Houston. Waymo already entered Dallas and Houston in February 2026, 2 months before Tesla, in Tesla's home state. They have 577 vehicles in Texas alone, 13 times Tesla's count in the same state. Nationally, Waymo is running 3,000 vehicles, 500,000 paid rides every week, annualized revenue of around $355 million. Goldman Sachs projects Tesla Robotaxi revenue of $150 million for all of 2027. Tesla is trading at 373 times earnings. But on June 3, 2026, Tesla pushed a software update. The Austin Robotaxi zone went from roughly 20 square miles to 245 square miles, the entire Austin metro area. 0 new cars. That is the number most of the coverage skip. And to understand why it changes what we are looking at, we need to go one level underneath the headline. Let's start with how Waymo works, because the comparison only makes sense once you understand what each company is actually building. Waymo cannot expand its service zone with a software update. Every Waymo vehicle runs on LiDAR and high-definition maps. Before Waymo can send a car down a new street, a team has to physically drive that street with mapping equipment, collect data, build a centimeter-accurate 3D model of every curb, every traffic light, every lane marking. That process takes months per city. Tesla claims its system works differently. The neural network generalizes. It does not need a pre-built map because it has seen enough real-world driving to figure out what comes next on its own. The Austin zone expansion is what that looks like in practice. Before June 3rd, a Tesla owner posted a joke online that the Robotaxi boundary ran right down his street. 17 days later, the zone shifted. Fleet count is Waymo's metric. It measures how many vehicles you can dispatch across the territory you already have mapped. Tesla is proving something different, that the software works across territory it has never been programmed for. Those are 2 different races, and most of the coverage is scoring the wrong one. Clayton Christensen documented this pattern in 1997. Incumbents were tracking a real improvement curve of the hard disk drive industry, 22% a year. But a new competitor was improving on a completely different axis. That axis quietly crossed the line that customers actually cared about. The familiar number was real. It was just pointing in the wrong direction. We are not saying Tesla has crossed that threshold. But if your thesis depends on fleet count, check whether fleet count is the curve that actually determines who wins. One more dimension. On June 9, 2026, Denmark approved Tesla FSD for public use. That is now. 4 countries in 2 months. The Netherlands, Lithuania, Estonia, Denmark. Not 4 new fleets, 4 separate regulatory authorities reviewing the same software across 4 different legal frameworks, different route markings, different traffic laws, and approving it. No new cars, no new training run, the same software branch. There is the same proof running across a completely different dimension. Now, both of those proof points rest on a decision Elon made. And to understand that decision, we need to go look at what he actually did. Tesla's Bay Area supervisory test fleet peaked at 355 vehicles in March 2026. By late May 2026, it was down to 9. These are not the Austin Robotaxi cars. California law requires a safety driver in every Tesla there. But these are Tesla's unsupervised testing vehicles, the ones generating the training data for V15. He pulled 346 cars off the road. In the weeks before V15's most critical development window. That is not a statement, it is a decision. Decisions tell you more. 2 reads on that pullback. Read 1. The current software generation is not the one Tesla is scaling on, and Elon knows it. Running 355 vehicles in the Bay Area costs engineering time, safety monitor salaries, and vehicle maintenance, without generating the training data V15 actually needs. So pull them back and focus. Read 2. It is a vote of no confidence. The investor who was watching Bay Area expansion as the next proof point just watched it go the opposite direction. Both reads can be true at the same time. And the data on the Austin crash rate, which is coming, gives read 2 serious weight. That pullback is the most honest signal in this whole story. Not a projection, not a target. A decision about where to put the cars. On June 8, 2026, Cathie Wood got into one of those Austin cars, rode for 9 minutes, moved to the back seat while it was moving, kept talking through the whole ride without watching the road. She posted on X that evening, more than 900,000 views, directed to Elon. Hey Elon, I recently experienced Tesla's Robotaxi fleet in Austin. Smooth ride, no driver. It's remarkable to see 10 plus years of real-world AI training manifesting in a fully autonomous service. We did discover a new operating expense line item for our Tesla model, parking tickets. Our Robotaxi got a $75 parking ticket. How does Tesla plan to handle parking and traffic violations in a Robotaxi world? As of June 10, 2026, no public reply from Elon. More than 900,000 people watching a direct question about accountability in a world with no driver to hand the ticket to. And no answer. We have 2 precedents for how a story like this ends. Looking at both together is the only honest way to understand what we are actually looking at. October 2nd, 2023, San Francisco. GM's Cruise was, at the moment, the first company in the world to run a paid driverless robotaxi service commercially in a major American city. 24 hours a day, fare-paying passengers, multi-city operations. California had granted Cruise 24-hour commercial authority across all of San Francisco, 2 months earlier in August 2023. GM had invested more than $10 billion in Cruise since buying it for $581 million in 2016. That night, a human driver hit a pedestrian and threw her into the path of a Cruise robotaxi. The Cruise car braked, made contact, then drove forward again, dragging her 20 feet. She survived. 22 days later, California suspended all Cruise permits, found the vehicles were not safe for public operation, found that Cruise had withheld safety data from regulators. All driverless operations halted nationwide within weeks. 950 vehicles recalled. CEO resigned, 900 employees laid off. By December 2024, GM shut down Cruise permanently. More than $10 billion spent, less than $500 million in cumulative revenue. Cruise had permits, passengers, regulatory authorization, multi-city footprint, None of it was proof of a thing that mattered. It proved itself in every normal situation. The situation it had never seen ended it in one night. Quick one before we continue. If you hold Tesla, does a cruise story change how you rate a company that will not publish its safety benchmarks? That is the next section. Tell me below what you think before you hear it. And if this is holding up, hit like so it reaches the next person working through this call. Now the other side. 2008, Netflix's own annual report describes streaming as a smaller library of titles available for streaming. 6,000 titles online, 100,000 on DVD. Revenue, almost entirely DVD rentals. If you measure Netflix in 2008 by streaming library size, you saw a DVD company with a side project. In January 2009, Netflix removed the streaming hours cap. Streaming volume passed DVD shipments that year. By 2011, streaming revenue surpassed DVD. By 2013, 29 million streaming subscribers. The 100,000 title DVD library that was the whole business became a rounding error. That side project is a 38 billion per year business today. The investors who measured Netflix in 2008 by streaming titles versus DVD titles tracked the right metric for the business they understood, and they missed the transition entirely. Measuring Tesla today by fleet count, 42 cars versus Waymo's 3,000 may be exactly the same mistake. Or it may not be. Cruise proves commercial authorization is not the proof of safety. Both precedents are real. You do not get to pick. So let's go find the data that helps us read which one this is pointing toward. Most of it exists. One critical piece does not. And its absence is the thing we need to talk about. If you own Tesla and use FSD supervised, you know what an intervention feels like. The car hands back control. You take over. Every one of those moments is an intervention. Tesla logs them. The supervised consumer fleet is why Tesla has 8.4 billion cumulative FSD miles, 20 million miles per day and growing. No competitor can replicate that training base. But the Austin fleet is unsupervised. No human to take over. When one of those 42 cars encounters something it cannot handle, the only option is a remote operator. In a letter to Senator Edward Markey's office on March 26, 2026, Tesla confirmed that remote assistance operators can take control of an Austin Robotaxi remotely, at up to 10 mph to move it out of a difficult position. Not a safety driver in the car, a remote human somewhere else, but still a human in the loop. Tesla has not published how often that happens. Senator Markey's investigation found every company refused to disclose that number. Tesla, Waymo, all of them. If the Austin fleet needs a remote operator once per mile, the business does not work. If it needs one once per every 1,000 miles, the business is viable. Those are not two versions of the same company. They are two different companies entirely. Are you following this? Because this is the number the entire valuation rests on. It is the one Tesla has not disclosed. And here is what that silence sits next to. Waymo discloses its driverless miles publicly. Waymo discloses weekly ride volume. Waymo had its safety performance independently validated by Swiss Re. 91 to 92% fewer serious injuries than human drivers. Tesla's own crash filings in NHTSA were redacted until external pressure forced disclosure in May 2026. When the narratives were released, 17 incidents. 2 of those crashes involved remote operators taking control and causing the incidents themselves. Now let's give the opposing case its full weight, because it deserves that. Tesla reached 10 billion cumulative FSD miles in May 2026. That milestone had been pointed to as meaningful. Electric's headline on the day: no magical milestone for autonomy. fleet unchanged. Large-scale rollout still gathered on V15. The milestone passed without the inflection it was supposed to signal. Phil Koopman is a Carnegie Mellon professor who has spent his career on autonomous vehicle safety standards. He published analysis showing Tesla measures crashes only within a 5-second window after a disengagement. NHTSA's standard is 30 seconds. If that methodology is right, Tesla's safety numbers systematically undercount incidents. I want to be fair about what this data is and what it is not. It does not mean the technology cannot improve. The early period included incidents involving safety monitors themselves. But it may also reflect the flaw of the current software generation. We cannot know which because Tesla has not published the number that would tell us. After going through all of this, the question I kept coming back is not whether V15 will be better than what is running in Austin today. Of course it will. The question is whether the gap between what is running now and the version Elon is waiting to scale on is a gap he is managing, or a gap he is hoping V15 closes. Those are two different bets, and the data we have does not resolve it. 3 things worth watching. 1. The V15 shipping date. Not a city launch, not a fleet update. The date Elon says V15 is ready for wide deployment. That is when consumer opt-in mechanism activates. That is the inflection. 2. Whether Tesla discloses intervention rates. Senator Markey's investigation is ongoing. If that number comes out, it either confirms what the Austin zone expansion suggests or it does not. There is no middle version of that disclosure. 3. The EU Commission decision on the Dutch FSD approval. Denmark cleared it on June 9, 2026. But the EU Commission holds veto authority over provisional member state approvals. If they reject it, the Danish clearance falls too. That decision controls whether this becomes a global software story or stays in Texas. That car that got the $75 ticket on June 8. No driver, nobody to move it off the curb. It was sitting in a zone that covered 245 square miles by the time Cathie Wood climbed into the back seat. At the end of her ride, she said one thing.
I do think now this slowly is moving into all at once.
The question is whether that is the right read, or whether it is the conviction people carry right before a cruise moment arrives. If this breakdown was useful, hit like and subscribe. I go 3 layers deep every week on the decisions inside Tesla and Elon's companies that most coverage never reaches.